Hi, how it's going? I'm Liami Duhay Lungsod. Nice to meet you. In this series, we're going to learn and discuss the principles of listening and reading that we as a group had identified during our first, second. In this lesson, you're going to learn an interactive principle connected with bottom-up and top-down approach, as well as the integrated principle with the learner-centeredness of bottom-up and top-down approach. We will discuss its definition, importance of the three principles, role of the students, role of the teachers in teaching, listening, and reading. First, exam principle. Power to change the world, it takes only an ear to listen. We are now living in the age of communication. Every day in our lives, we cannot even count how much talking we have done. But the question is, for all the countless talking we made, have we ever asked ourselves how much we listened? And when was the last time we had listened to the words behind words? Consequently, there may be times we heard something. Hence, we heard it, but we failed to listen to it. Listening has always been given a little importance, even up to those days. People tend to forget the truth and essence of listening because it only takes a genuine heart that is capable of listening. However, listening is the most crucial and critical aspect in language teaching, especially when you are dealing with the learners that have a multiple dialects, way of speaking, habit in speech, and language. This is now the challenge among all the teachers of how the students gain understanding on what they listen. There are various techniques, methods, strategies being developed and addressed to the teacher needs. It is anchored to the principles is how this method can give light to the teacher's crucial rule. Moreover, the integrated principle with the learner-centeredness of bottom-up and top-down approach that has been applied in teaching listening to give high focus on what the learner should know in a given curriculum, regardless of what the fact that aims at targeting the four micro skills of the student. It is really fine that the students delayed the writing and speaking skills because they are still in the process of mastering the most important skill. Teachers tend to do things gradually, but sometimes things do not go the way we think it should. Students should not just be given a chance to learn by observing. Instead, they should experience how these things work so that they can have a meaningful learning. They should also be anchored with a support curriculum so that the learning will become a real-world experience. That is why it is very important to understand why they respond in such way because it is how we can evaluate how much they comprehend of what they listened. These students have their own goal in listening, and that goal should be used by the teacher in motivating them in intensifying their interest in improving listening skill. Furthermore, as a teacher, it is also important to consider techniques that the students can apply in their own listening activity. For instance, teaching them the proper way of note-taking and picking up only an important information will significantly help them understand more and see the essence of what they are doing. Additionally, learner-centeredness has been proven to be a very effective when it comes to knowledge delivery. This principle should be imposed to classroom setting because new generation learners are types of learners who would love to experience things. Being a observer and a passing participant in the learning process, they would likely to acquire shallow learning. Teaching reading comprehension. Reading is an old knowing, a process of acquiring various knowledge and ideas that is being expressed through symbols. It is a way of understanding the language of the author through written text, and a way of interpreting the meaning through analyzing every single word of symbol wherein the meaning lies behind these symbols. On the other hand, reading plays a significant role in enhancing one's intelligence and expanding their horizon of understanding the words. The interactive principle connected with the bottom-up and top-down approach states that the written text represents a language thoughts of the author. In postulates, reading combines two types of process: the top-down or reader-based approach and the bottom-up or text-based approach. Reader use his knowledge of the language, its underlying concept of reading that they can they can process because of the concept interactive theory, which is bi-directional. Meaning, written text represent the author's ideas and readers use his knowledge of the language concept in order to understand what the author say. This is where the interaction between the author to readers and the readers to authors happened. The principle emphasizes more on the aim of understanding, which is seen as a process rather than a product. However, some adults are accustomed to their kind of reading process and knew what information to get as they read. For children, this transaction is nebulous. Novice reader read guidance to learn what the author is trying to give them and what they should get. Teaching is a process consists of these steps: free reading activities, during reading activities, and after reading activities. Free reading activities a week before going on a field trip to the zoo. The teacher will explain to the class that they are going to read several books about African animals. Before reading, the teacher should introduce the new vocabulary words. The teacher should paint out new words while showing pictures of the animals. The teacher should also explain interesting facts that the book contains, so the students have an idea about what information is important for them to comprehend. After reading the activities, once the students have read, the teacher can assess their understanding of material. So the teacher can also help the students compare or contrast the information from the different books they were read. The after reading contrast and information from the different books they have to read. So after the reading activity should the climax with the field trip to the zoo. Teacher plays a significant role in teaching comprehension. There has to be a continuous learning scaffolding, and the teacher should have a knowledge about the qualities of the good and how he or she adapt a strategy that fits to his or her style of learning and purpose. Additionally, it is a very important for the teacher to recognize is crucial to assist. A teacher should evaluate reading text objectively, critically. A teacher should be creative enough to make a self-made assessment task, which helps students cope with or what is required from her. Thus, Gibson's 1969 theory of perception suggests how information may be picked up from the print. Reading skills and text properties are among the most central variable in reaching acquisition. Teachers' role in implementing strategies and the materials to be used are essential in order for the students to build up their interest to read more and understand what they read.
Hi, how's it going? I'm Teacher Jim. Nice to meet you. In this series, I will demonstrate to you our lesson plan on reading that we have done on the third examination. In this lesson, I am going to share with you how reading is taught, following the lesson plan, and explaining the what's, why, and how should be executed properly. Are you ready for this one? Let's start. Our learning plan is for the grade 11 and focuses on reading as a way of thinking with the topic explicit and implicit claims in a text, which aims to understand the relationship of a written text and a context, and values the importance of different ways for better comprehension in going through a text. One of the key principles in this lesson that we apply is exploiting readers' background knowledge, which influence the reading comprehension of the students. It can or it will be observed in the activities and oral recitation part provided, where the teacher will check the background knowledge of the students to the lesson. Next is Teach for Comprehension, which teaching the students technique for meaningful cognitive interaction and the process of constructing meaning of the text. The objective of this learning plan in 60-minute period class session is for the student to be able to first, explain the difference between figurative language and literal language through oral recitation. Second, identify the figurative language used in a poetry or prose by listing down them on a piece of paper. And third, create a 5-stanza poem using metaphors and similes. The first objective in explaining the difference between the figurative language and the literal language is implemented through oral recitation. How? If I will be the teacher, I will call one person on my students and try to ask different questions regarding the topics. For example, I will question him what is the difference between metaphor and simile, or what is the difference between connotation and denotation, or try to get before introducing the lesson to the class in order to check the background knowledge of the student to the specific topic. The teacher must apply an activity. The activity called is the Match Me Now, where she posts some pictures and let the learner explain the literal and figurative meaning of those images posted. She will assess their understanding by calling random students and asking questions connected to the topic. For example, if I will be the teacher, I will call one of my students to ask any idea about the picture posted, what she can say, and what is the meaning behind that picture. And I will try to validate that idea of him and try to connect it to the activity given. I hope that you will learn a lot in our discussion. Don't forget to share your thoughts, comments, and suggestions in the comment section below. See you in our next discussion. Goodbye, everyone. In discussing the lesson, we use inductive approach by posting paragraph and let the student read and observe it. The teacher let them read in a given duration of time, and after reading, we will use the deductive approach by discussing the figure of speech and literal language, its definition, types, and examples. The class discussion was also interactive since the teacher assures the participation of the class. For example, if I will be the teacher, if I will be using inductive approach, I will use a paragraph as an example or the picture posted on the blackboard and an example to figure out what is the lesson is all about. After which, I will use a deductive approach to validate the examples or the information or the background knowledge that the student have, and then try to discuss the figure of speech and literal meanings, its definition, types, and example. To meet the second objective, where the student will identify the figurative language, is in the application part, where the teacher grouped the class into five and posed a poem for the learners to read and analyze. The group will collaboratively identify the figurative language used in a poem or prose and to assess their output understanding. The teacher will randomly call one member of each group to share their output. In the final assessment, the teacher let the students figure the technique being used. For example, whether it's simile, metaphor, hyperbole, or personification in a given lines of a poetry provided, and let them explain how they figure it out. For example, there is a direction that goes like this: read the lines of a poetry, figure out which technique is being used. It's either simile, metaphor, hyperbole, or personification. In the box provided, explain how you figure out your answer. It is possible that one or more techniques being used in a sentence. Finally, the last objective was implemented in the assignment part, where the students are tasked to create or compose their own five stanza, free verse, or with rhyme poem using the different types of figures of speech with a given criteria to be followed.